Rolling up in blacked out cars, talking like they own the stars. Smiling for the camera flash, hands in your pocket, counting cash. Trust us, this time they'll stay. Same old trick in a brand new script. Waving papers, selling hope. Fine print line is a velvet rope. Blue suit, black heart, saying we feel your pain from the country club bar. Big speed, fake tears. Every 4 years they remember we're here. They're saving the world on a t-shirt sign while they're sipping that vintage red on your dime. Blue suits, black hearts, they love the power more than the people they mark. Every problem, they've got plans. Step 1, take more from your hands. Step 2, pick a team to blame. Step 3, walk off with the game. Talking justice, talking care, till you ask, hey, why's my street bare? They built mansions on those dreams, then called you cruel when you asked what it meant. Blue suits, black hearts, saying we feel your pain from the country club bar. Big speed, fake tears. Every 4 years they remember we're here. They're saving the world on a t-shirt sign while they're sipping that vintage red on your dime. Blue suits, black hearts, they love the power more than the people they mark. Raise your hand if you're tired of the show. Same old play in a thrift store coat. They talk like saints, vote like sharks, writing your life with invisible marks. Blue suits, black hearts, saying we feel your pain from the country club bar. Big speed, fake tears. Every 4 years they remember we're here. They're saving the world on a t-shirt sign while they're sipping that vintage red on your dime. Blue suits, black hearts, yeah. The mask falls off when the cameras go dark. Blue suits, black hearts, we're done being
Good
Hey,
evening, everybody. Go ahead, Scott.
welcome to California
Welcome to
Free
California
Radio.
Free Radio. I'm News.
Hey, you got echoes going on your side again. Hey,
Uh-oh.
we're here behind the blue curtain, letting you know what's happening in California, and there's a lot happening. You guys know everybody follows the feds and what's going on in the United States, but California has a lot happening, and a lot of what happens in California spills over to the rest of the country. So we're here to tell you all about it. Mike, what do you got?
Well, the feds are all over the place, but let's start a little bit with California as the feds start to creep in. We saw a couple actually in the area where I'm running for State Senate 2022. A quick plug. The feds did a run on Ontario's supervised and the same time raided a Chinese businessman. Scott, what are the odds? Over also in my area of West Covina, who apparently is up to no good. What do you think he's up to?
How many guesses do I get? So, everybody, you guys have to know, Mike's putting himself out, and he's running for state senate. He's running against this lady, Susan Rubio, who's crooked as, well, a Democrat, and she's actually under, I guess under investigation would be the appropriate thing to say. We're hoping for an indictment any day for some mysterious and shady dealings she did as a city councilwoman. But hey, she represents you in the state senate, and you know who knows what kind of dirty deeds she's doing. So Mike's putting himself out there. He's running to try and give everybody an option. And you know what? if you're tired of the status quo, if you're tired of all the homeless, if you're tired of, you see the background behind me, they're actually robbing trains again. I mean, it's like 1800s all over again. Well, I don't know if they're on horseback, but they're out there with guns and they're shooting the train conductors and caboose operators and engineers. So it's a lawless time. And you want to change the status quo? Mike's your guy. It only happens if you live in the 22nd Senate District, though.
But
Where is the 22nd Senate?
across the board, everybody out there, am I still echoing, which is weird? Across the board, look, Netter News this morning, the train robbery where they're literally exchanging gunfire with a modern day train. No, this isn't a movie they were making because, well, we're not making any movies right now, but we'll talk about that in just a bit. We have lawlessness kind of run amok, and who is watching the store? Scott, let's talk about the article that I had in Netter News today that John Fleischman wrote about Gavin Newsom's calendar.
So here's a guy, he brags about transparency, but he doesn't release his calendar. Nobody knows what the guy does all day. And they badger him and badger him. Finally, he released his calendar. It's almost like the Fauci diaries. And so we're finding all sorts of fun stuff out about our governor or the lack of governing that he actually does. It's like he barely works 7 hours a day. He spends 20 hours preparing for his 1 hour State of the State speech. He spends more time in makeup and interviews than he does running the state. And he talks about the Cajon Pass robberies. Not on my watch. Yeah, right. You don't even know what's going on. He's, at best, he's an absentee governor because he's running for president. Reality of it is, I don't think he ever ran the state.
Never.
He's not capable. He doesn't have the brain.
No, he's not. And an interesting thing right now is you see Gavin Newsom, who talks about transparency, Scott, also was supposed to release his tax returns. You know why he was supposed to release his tax returns? Because he made a really big deal when Trump ran the first time that you had to release your tax returns if you were going to run in California, because Trump wasn't, for both president and governor, and in fact disqualified a couple candidates this time. I'll leave their names out of it, running for governor because they didn't get their tax returns in on time. Yet Gavin Newsom didn't even really release his tax returns the last 4 years, and the ones he just released, here's how he released them. He
How
put
did
them
he
out
release
there, let reporters see them, let them to take a look at them, try to take notes off of them, and then put them back in whatever filing cabinet they were in.
So wait a second. So he pulls out his tax return, invites select reporters to come review them. They can't take pictures of them. He doesn't give them copies of them. They're able to read them for a limited amount of time, and then he slams them up, throws them back in the file drawer, shuts the drawer, and kicks them out of the office. And
That's pretty much, that's kind of how it rolls. However, here's what we did.
Wait. But he's transparent. You saw his tax returns, right?
We need to look right through Gavin Newsom, because here's what is interesting they were able to gather. That Gavin and Jennifer Newsom, the last 4 years, outside of his, it's going to be one of those nights, outside of the money he makes as governor, have been making $1 million a year in outside income. I wonder how they're doing that, Scott.
Oh, you think it's because of the blind trust that Newsom's daughter's running as she sits in all the insider trader meetings that Newsom's having?
And his sister?
His sister Hillary, of no less. What a
Yes,
name
because
to be
his
born
daughter,
with.
who's going to private school because she wouldn't dare interface with anybody else, is probably about 9 years old. These kids could do a better job than I will grant you that.
Well, they don't want to expose their children to the sexual slut and porn that Sybil Newsom gets money for producing and selling to the school districts that your children go to. So you can learn how, Adam and Eve it's Adam and Steve. That's okay. That's good. And sex change and gender change, that's good stuff. Don't tell your parents. And Sybil Newsom gets paid big bucks, like millions of dollars, to produce that porn and filth that they indoctrinate your kids with. And the people that pay her are the school districts. They're broke, but they pay her first.
And that's just
But we're all transparent about it.
Let's also talk about something else. And I made a couple videos today that will be released soon. Let's talk about homelessness and things that we do see. The state of California, why Gavin is supposed to be watching the store. And by the way, one of the reasons I'm running for state senate, as Scott talked about, it's not just the governor of California. There's supposed to be a system of checks and balances where the assembly and the state senate is supposed to kind of watch what's going on with these billions and billions and billions of dollars. No one seems to be. No one even strolls by Gavin's office and goes, hey, where the expletive deleted is Gavin today? Who's actually watching where this money's going? One of the people that are supposed to is the auditor's office, who admitted that the controller, the treasurer, are not doing their job. That when it flows down to the local counties, let's just pick on Nithya Raman and Karen Bass, for example, who have spent billions of our dollars and literally housed something like 30 people. This was also in Netter News today. And they distract us a lot of the time talking about this, that, and the other. But you can look around the streets and see how the homelessness is getting worse. I don't need people to count them. You can look around and see how it's getting worse.
By the government's own numbers, though, we've got 3.4% more homeless than we did at the beginning of the year.
And that's off a really
So,
big
yeah,
number.
the homeless program is working really well, huh?
It's California well. But people either aren't voting, and they're not voting for all the offices. We've talked about the undervote. Even those of you that do vote, you've got to vote in all the offices, or they're not voting at all. And unfortunately, or for better or for worse, the media gives the bully pulpit to the governor of California, et cetera, et cetera. And we hear about all this hyperbole they talk about. But guys, Gavin Newsom has been an absent governor and not a transparent governor. He's not released his calendar. He's not released his tax returns. He promised Ashley Zabata live on camera that he would try to figure out why we have no idea where what we think is $1 billion going to build a new Taj Mahal, which is the new Capitol headquarters, so to speak. We don't know. We have no idea where that money's going, who the contractors are, when the project will be done. And although the train behind Scott might represent the bullet train if it run, as a great song my buddy Drew put out, it's hard to say goodbye when the train's never left the station. We don't even know where that money's going. And as an article came out this week, probably in early 2027, the money to complete the bullet train, not from the feds who've never given any money, is going to run out before we've ever had a single person take a ride on it. So nothing is getting done, yet billions of dollars are evaporating. And who's watching the store? Who dares to question the government?
No, everything's working fine. Nothing to see here. Elect more Democrats. We'll take care of it for you.
Oh, by the way, if it is the bullet train, they're right. There's nothing to see there.
I'm sorry. That was a Katie Porter ad. I don't need to see that either. Hey, she's at
Please
least
don't scare the children.
gone. Well, yeah, she's at least gone. She's resigning and retiring. She's now only going to concentrate on polluting young minds full of mush that attend UCI's legal school.
It's
Sorry to digress.
Yeah, no. When you talk about Katie Porter, for everybody out there, this entire time she's been in Congress or running for office, Scott, guess who's been paying for her house?
Us, UCI.
The taxpayers. Isn't that fascinating? And she goes, I don't take corporate money. Well, you don't kind of need to, Katie. You're taking my money. So hey,
She's
I
not
mean,
missing any meals, that's for sure. Yes, no, you agree?
no. Yes, I do. I'm trying to bring up our chat here. Here we go. Okay. So everyone out there understand that the politicians, Gavin Newsom has literally scammed so much of our money. He has two mansions, doesn't have to live in the governor's mansion. Katie Porter doesn't need to take corporate money because she's living in a UCI sponsored housing. And the list just goes on and on and on, except, of course, for people like Adam Schiff, who doesn't bother to live in California at all. So,
That would be Adam Schiff for brains, our U.S. Senator representing our beautiful state of California.
and this is the problem I have. And I got a lot of flack a couple weeks ago, even from our side. Oh my God, you're going on about the kids. We have a beautiful state, everybody. We really do. Okay. We have weather, barring none. I had dinner.
The best.
I had
No,
dinner
nobody
with
beats this state.
Had a couple experiences this week with friends of mine. One, a good friend of mine who's moved out of state, who's been active on politics. I'll let you fill in who it is. People I went to that I talked to have gone and visited out of state. We're driving Californians out of California, the most beautiful state to go live in, maybe I'll say the next most beautiful state. And Scott, I got an interesting concept for you, okay?
Novel
You know,
concept for government. Yeah. What do you got?
No, in general, California likes to really do an exit tax people when they're gone, tax it because they're leaving state, talk about because they're losing revenue. It'd be really interesting if a state like Florida, for example, started suing and taxing California for sending so many people to Florida. What if Tennessee were to sue California and say, you're driving so many people into our state, you're upping our real estate costs, you're upping our cost of living. Maybe these other states should start suing California instead of California running around suing everybody else.
Yeah, I'm sure Gavin Newsom would write a check gladly because he believes in taxes. Right?
What I'm saying is
Would that fall underneath? Would that be a legitimate use of the Interstate Commerce Clause?
I don't know because Bonta and Newsom seem to have no problem trying to make laws telling other states what to do that have to do. Remember, a lot of what they do, and Kurt, who's on assignment tonight, as we say, has talked quite often about how much of he's the only official lawyer we have on the show. Um, how many of the laws that Newsom makes about making, for example, they wanted to make the trains like behind Scott all electric, even though they don't make electric trains yet. And they say, oh, those are only for the ones that run in California. But if you've ever looked at a train track, it goes to other states. When they make things about emissions, et cetera, cars flew over the state line. When they do things with gas, the price of gasoline that affects 7 western states. So California constantly breaks the law on interstate commerce. And you would think sooner or later some of these states, this has been done by Florida, are going to start suing California for upping their costs. Don't forget our highly expensive housing that we so enjoy in this state because we can't build, we can't do this, we can't do that. When people move to other states and compete for that housing, that drives their cost of housing up. That's why people in Wyoming, Idaho, Tennessee are a little bit peeved at California because the house that used to be around the corner for 400 or 60 because Californians coming over there are up. That the 7 western states, as our refineries shut, we're only one of 7 of the Western Petroleum Association, and we're driving the cop by not drilling, by not doing what we should do to supply energy, we're actually driving the price of gas up for the 6 states around us that are part of what's called the Western Petroleum Association, which are 7 states. Remember, there's no pipeline yet. They're kind of working on one that goes through the Rocky Mountains. So, Scott, my question is back at you. It's like California has been making a lot of people's life miserable. Forget even people like at least in Washington. That alone could be a lawsuit right there. The fact that we bred these people and shipped them out of state. But we're sure doing a lot of things right now to make these other states' life a little bit miserable. And you wonder when they're going to start doing things to strike back at California. Let me also
Well,
add, go ahead.
I was just saying that utilities are a perfect example. You use gasoline, and of course that's true. We've stopped every bit of drilling in California that we can stop. If there's no contractual obligation that a judge is going to support, Newsom has shut them down. And then on top of that, we've lost 1/6 of our refinery capacity in the last 8 months. And now we're having to import gasoline for the first time that's been refined. I mean, these idiots in Sacramento sit there and go, well, when they shut down a refinery for maintenance, the price of gas goes up from the other 2 refineries or the other 8 refineries. And it's kind of like, yeah, because there's less supply and there's still a big demand. And the way to cut the demand down is to raise the price. And so every refinery has to go down. So what did the legislators do? Oh, we're going to mandate that each refinery has to put a 5% buffer in so that when they shut down for the week, they can sell gas out of the buffer and we don't get any bumps. It's kind of like, you idiot. They're selling every bit of gallon of gas that they can produce. They don't have an extra 5% to just go throw in a tank and wait for a year to sell. I mean, do you not understand economics and how it works? So we're importing tanker ships, not just of oil. We're importing tanker ships of gasoline, which is a whole lot more volatile, a whole lot more polluting if it ever does leak out of one of these boats. And we're importing it from like the Philippines and Vietnam. And all Newsom is doing is exporting our refinery production. I mean, you're still going to buy the gas. It still has to get refined. It's just that instead of being refined in California, it gets refined in the Philippines. And I guess it's okay to pollute the air in the Philippines just so that it's not polluted in California. I thought we were all kind of part of the same global impact for global warming. But no, they're just kind of like, hey, we must be doing really well by the planet. We're actually producing less gasoline, and so we're polluting the air less. No, you just offshored it and added danger and pollution to do it.
Right, that's the interesting
Idiot.
part, right? Because you think the environmentalists would be up in arms about this because every one of these big belching, and by the way, there are some people that listen to us around the state. Scott, are you ready for a very important fact?
I can't wait.
Arizona is not on the ocean. Okay, they have no way to bring ships into Arizona because we have this. I don't want to get too
I need to check Google Maps just to make sure.
I don't want to get too scientific, but there's a thing called land that they can't drag these. Meaning that unless California makes things available to Washington, not to Washington, Arizona, Idaho, ships come in California, and to Scott's point, these big belching ships coming up from South America and over from China, carrying goods and services, okay, are polluting their air. And wait, there's more. And you just gave me a good reminder, Scott. You're a good co host. I'm going to try to republish this next week. But how California talks about all the waste that we produce a lot of waste. And to put in comparison, Arizona has about 3 million people. We've got about 30 million. I don't need to go on. Okay. So we produce a lot of garbage and a lot of waste. We have strived over the last 40 years to produce less waste. California likes to, and there was a great article in Cal Matters about this that did not get enough pub. I did put it out in the news about 5 months ago that talked about California likes to brag, hey, you know what, man? We've done a lot with landfills. We've got all this waste that we have. We're not burying it. You know why they're not, Scott? You know what they're doing with it?
I mean, yeah, they're just throwing it in the water.
No, they're taking it to other states. Because Utah is a great example. Utah to produce revenue, okay? And by the way, for everybody out there, if you think politics pays, if Scott and our respective and myself and our respective family ever go on a cruise, that's what the ship will look like. Um,
And we go on
so
the special cruises.
yes, exactly. So states like Utah and even Arizona, but I'm going to pick on Utah specifically because remember the article, have actually to produce revenue over the years, have taken and agreed to take other states' landfill and trash, basically. And so the things you see on the ship that Scott has, they bring it into these other states. California making less waste, we're just burying other places. It's kind of like we're not killing less people, man. We've just opened a new graveyard. These other states are now complaining because California is literally because we've moved our environmental problems simply across the state borders. So we haven't really done much except we're miserable to do much in the environment. LA is certainly cleaner than when we used to be kids, but much of the other stuff or the less you see, remember when you were a kid, there were trash dumps all over the place. Simply taking that trash, putting it on boats like this, and putting it in big trucks and moving it over to other places to be buried because they've had a lot of open space and grew an industry just like the recycling industry. Recycling, as much as when you pay a dime or 10 cents a bottle, that's a whole other show. Okay. No one knows where that money's going. It's not going back to the state of California. It's not going back to us, the consumer. It's grown to slush fund. And when you have a water bottle that goes some not recycled here, we were sending them to China for a while, and China gave us the proverbial New York finger, and now we're shipping them to other states. So we've actually are one of the biggest polluters in the country.
Yes, if you look at the net carbon footprint since the liberals took office, let's call it from Schwarzenegger on, with all the forest fires, with all of the other things that have happened, I'm sure that I don't care what kind of improvements they think they've made. When you start counting all of the fires, the offshoring, or to moving pollution to other states, the net carbon pollution factor is higher. We've actually polluted more since the greenies tried saving the planet.
And we're going to produce even more because we shut down nuclear power plants. And
so do you like my ad here for new?
Yes,
it's bottled water, hose water for baby boomers.
You saw the post put out that we're going to be closed anyway. You might as well drink hose water, right?
Now with 30% more hose flavor, made for baby boomers. I guess that qualifies us.
Excuse me 1 second. I'll be right back.
So I want to talk about Becerra. Have you heard his latest, let's call it, idea to buy votes? His latest idea to buy votes are, let me see if I can pull this illustration down for us. He wants to Give us 2 hours of free electricity every afternoon. Come on down. It's like free, meaning he didn't have to pay for it, but we are going to have to pay for it. All of these extra energy costs. So his proposal is from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the afternoon on weekdays, he's going to give you 2 hours of free electricity, hoping you'll turn on your washing machines and do all of those electric consuming items between those 2 hours because you're going to have free electricity. Is there anything free, Mr. Netter?
Nothing. I'm gonna want to give a shout, Magdalena. I'm posting a link right now that you post or showing every week. Thank God bless you. Not only is nothing free, okay, I also would like to add that just drive the cost of electricity down so I can afford it. But let's go back to something I was about to discuss here. So California and the opposite, it's Steve Hilton. I saw him on the political roundtable, whatever you want to call it, this week. And I want to give a shout out to my buddy Blake Jones at Political, who wrote a great article on Steve Hilton talking about how they made people scared of AI. But AI consumes a lot of power. And to power a lot of this AI that we have there, exactly, want to put power banks, big power bank farms in cities, including in my district. Those power bank farms, and everybody who knows me know that background, are probably more dangerous even than a nuclear power plant. Strange as that sounds. Okay, right? So,
What the heck is a power bank farm?
okay, let me explain the initiative. All right, and these are coming up all over, and the data centers are getting all the pub. You know how they have these solar farms like that? Okay, leave that picture up for a second. Okay, that only produce energy every so often, right? Okay, so when they produce energy, there you go. All right,
When the sun shines.
right. When the sun shines or the wind blows, which is not all the time, because we're California. That's one of the reasons we like to live here. We're not Arizona, and we don't have hurricanes. Okay, so let's just roll with that. They wanted these big areas and put huge piles. Okay, and the best way to describe it, so they can store this power. My opponent, Susan Rubio, has been all in favor of this. It's a really bad idea. Now, I will tell you, these want to be put up by the energy company, and there you go. And they want to authorize these in your community. One way I would authorize these as state senator, you know what my stipulation would be?
That I get free power all day long?
Nope. That the CEO of the power companies themselves, like Pacific Gas and Electric, would be required to put their house on top of the power bank and live there with their family. If they do that, if they think it's that safe, let them let it. Because not for everybody who's ever right now, if you're watching this show and touch your phone as it gets an airline today, they don't want you putting your portable power banks in the overhead. What's with you? I not like them in the flames, and they're tiny. And I'm putting this in simple
Well, it
terms.
definitely don't let you put it into luggage because they could start a fire down there and no one's there to watch it.
They don't
But you
want
can
it in
carry your
luggage, and they
batteries
don't
in.
want it in the overhead. Okay, fair enough, because everybody. Now, look up in San
How
Jose.
do you go anywhere without a battery these days?
No, you can. You can just carry it with you. I just want you to put is these big banks next to your can catch fire, and wait, there's more. If you look at
Oh yeah,
it, I need to.
you won't stop them.
You can't stop them. San Jose, you can't put. It's kind of like when a fire starts in your kitchen and you have to have a special kind of, as you know, fire extinguisher to put it out. We don't have fire extinguishers that can put these, and so we cannot. This is kind of what happened in Boyle Heights, except it was a plant, the same kind of thing. These catch fire, they burn very hot. And for everybody out there in simplistic terms, it's not the data centers. It's what's there you go. That's exactly the fire, I believe. That's the refrigeration fire. It's hard to keep up. But if you look at the
This
samples,
no, this was a lithium. This was a lithium
oh, there you
iron,
go. That's the one.
lithium ion battery fire in Escondido.
Yep. And that one, there was one up north. They cannot be put out very easily. And the thing is, it's not put a lot of them together. And why they're having us pay attention to the data centers, and my point is, Hilton in his interview said they're making us afraid of artificial intelligence. We've had it run by some bad people like Sam Altman, etc. And they've drilled into why they're doing that. They're not talking about, in the name of clean energy, these big power bank farms that they want to put up. And again, without turning this into an engineering show, Ohm's law, they will burn hot. And a bunch together, his family and everybody else would like to live on top of these power banks. I'm all for it. But they're not. And in fact, they won't live anywhere near these things because they're dangerous. But they're part of the clean energy push to store energy in your community because the clean energy isn't exactly working out. They are more dangerous, actually, almost, than a nuclear power plant, strange as that sounds, because you may not want a nuclear power plant next door to you, and you don't want to live next to a big crackling electric line. How would you like next to clean batteries? And
Hey, you can't really even give everybody a bad name on the nuclear power. This isn't like 3 Mile Island where everybody's going to die. Chernobyl. I mean, actually, in 3 Mile Island, hardly any radiation was released. No more than a
nuclear
sunburst
power
version of.
is safer. Let me
It
be
is.
clear.
It's cleaner.
Nuclear power is safer. Nuclear power, what happens is simple. You burn power, all right, you turn heat. That heat in the plant, things that spin, produce electricity. That electricity flows through. If at a point the plant gets too hot, okay, all right, and when the plant gets too hot, if they can't cool it down, the protection between the things that cool it down and the material which leaks radiation come out. Okay? Now, to Scott's point, it's pretty rare and very hard to make happen. But that same concept, energy wants to keep. Okay, so Scott, when when you build a structure, and being an architect and all, and put wiring in it, you require that wiring to have grounds, correct?
All sorts of safety requirements on electrical.
And what's the main reason behind those safety requirements? What are you trying to do? Prevent heat from building up, not just Johnny getting shorted. A short creates heat.
Well, yeah, you don't want people to get shocked, but you don't want fires to start. And
Right.
fires
I mean,
generally
the main
start
thing
with
when you
heat.
get shocked, the shock stops. But without grounds, heat builds up. I mean, I'm making this simplistic, but when heat builds up, fires start. Fair enough? Now, understand that yours or mine house catching fire is one thing. A big pile of batteries catching fire is another thing. And when you can't put them up, that becomes a problem. And you can't flip a breaker because when energy can't move, doesn't have somewhere in the structure that you build, Scott, it becomes hot.
Well, in these nuclear reactors, I mean, first of all, you have to look at it. France can power 80% of their country with nuclear reactors. I think we can figure it out, right? But they've got these micro reactors now, like you would find on a nuclear submarine, that you could sit there and place, and that could power one of these data centers and the town around it. So rather than have the data center be a drain on the power, they come in with one of these kinds of power sources, and they can provide extra power to their neighbors instead of taking it from their neighbors.
Well, they've had these small reactors, GA General Atomic, who I used to visit
This
and
this
deal
particular
with.
one, the World Life Micro, yeah, but
They've
yeah,
had these
they have a
micro
lot of different
reactors
ones.
for years, okay? But the challenge isn't that they've got the public paranoid of building these reactors, it's like paranoid of AI. But I want to go back to something basic here, okay? That if the clean energy folks, okay, would buy into these reactors, even if they do, electricity has to be on the move. Or what happens when it's not on the move, Scott?
Well, they have to store it somehow, and storing electricity is very, very difficult.
And when energy is not on the, it produces heat. We call it Ohm's law. Okay, for those of you that ever had electronics, that when there is
I thought it was
resistance,
thermodynamics.
no, thermodynamics is slightly
Either
different, but we're
way,
close enough. Okay, when heat doesn't move, okay, it has to be resisted. When it's resisted, that's called Ohm's law. Thermodynamics is how it moves, but either way, whether you produce it through a reactor or however if it doesn't move, its little electrons, okay, produce heat. Okay, that's fine and dandy, like you're in this show right now. However, the folks that believe in the Don Quixote windmills and the solar panels, right, which don't produce electricity all the time, they produce it some of the times, like, well, that's fine. We're going to store it like water. Now, I have stored water in this water bottle. Well, not me personally, but you get the drift. Okay. I did not go, I know this is a shock to you and most of our viewers. I did not go out to the well and backyard and fill this bottle of water before the show. Energy doesn't work that way. It has to be stored, and when it's stored, it creates heat. Now you might wonder why we're talking about this, but the truth of the matter is that the California government's vision for how we get around, how we produce things, electric trains, fully electric cars, electric this, electric, is going to require a lot of electricity and have the ability to produce that much electricity. So the latest thing is, well, we're going to do that by storing this electricity, even though it's not safe. If I store a water bottle and a water bottle breaks, what's going to happen, Scott? I'm going to get wet.
it's
I will
all leaky.
probably cover.
Yes.
When I store electricity, okay, and it doesn't work out well, it leaks out as what you know is heat. Heat will fire, and if I don't have a way to put that fire out and it's a lot of heat, it ends badly. And that's the problem. And by the way, in East San Gabriel Valley right now, there are right next to, and I do not want to confuse these with data centers. The data centers can indeed have their own power sources. But why they're talking about the data centers and AI, they're not talking about these power farms that they're putting in. And these power bank farms can, and most of the communities are against them, but the state of California is overriding local regulations as to how we can zone things. So I want you to, when Gavin Newsom is one of his 83 mansions in the future, and when Katie Porter is living in, moved on from New York, isn't living here at all, this is what you're going to they envision California. They want to take my local communities and they say instead of living in single houses, we want to put up assist. You put up in towers because we want you to build high density housing, whether you like it or not. East San Gabriel Valley, like Ontario, a lot of people in one spot, high up, and we're going to put next to you something which generates that creates a fire that we can't put out. So when there's a fire in your house, it's going to do some damage. How do you think that's going to end up? Well, that's the state's vision, California. Okay, big piles of things which get hot next to a lot of people living in one place. That's their vision that they're slowly shoving down your throat.
But of course, that won't add any pollution to the air. If those batteries burn for 6 weeks, no problem, nothing to see here. I want to kind of jump topics here. You see on the screen, it talks about is there a new divide in American politics? And I thought this was a really interesting article. Fleischman put it out, and so does it matter. He quoted a couple of well-known left and right strategists that kind of came to the same conclusion, obviously from different directions. But the concept is that the Democrat and the Democrat establishment is getting upended by the progressive insurgency. The DSA, the Socialists of America, the Mondamis and the Bernie Sanders and AOCs of the world. And then the right, of course, they look at it as being upset by MAGA, by Trump, by the populist movement. And you're running in a district that's very, very Democrat, very, very blue. But I've got to believe that most of the voters in Southern California, and particularly in your district, are tired of the status quo, and they're willing to vote for some extremists like Mondami in order to upset the apple cart and change the way the stupid state's going. And they're not necessarily ready to vote Republican. But in your case, I think it's you or the establishment Democrat who's about to be indicted, Susan Rubio. And I think people need to understand, you want to change status quo, you can't elect the status quo. You got to elect new blood. And guys like Mike, you're putting yourself out there, and you will be revolutionary. Like Trump, you don't approach problems from a political angle. You approach them from kind of a business angle, where it's kind of like, hey, in business, we actually solve problems and move on. And in politics, no, if the problem gets solved, then they don't need me anymore. So I want the problem to linger, and I want them to sit there and have faith that I'll take care of it. Well, they're not taking care of it. They're making it worse, and we need to vote Mike into the Senate. And it's important, even though there's a super majority, that means there's over 2/3 Democrats in the legislature, in both the House or the Assembly and the Senate. Mike's running for the Senate. And we only need how many senators to flip the supermajority? 4?
We need 4 senators and 8 state assembly people. And let me talk.
So
about
Mike is one.
Yeah, let's talk about this.
But all of these tax increases that we're getting, were voted in because they require a 2/3 vote. So by flipping 4 districts, Mike's district being one of them, we can stop the Democrats from just implementing taxes willy-nilly. Go ahead, Mike. What are you going to say?
Well, a couple things here. Is that a real picture of John Fleischman, or is that AI? Be honest.
No, it's definitely AI, but the AI did a pretty good job.
So I want to go on record for those of us that are old enough to remember, and John Fleischman is a great guy, and we know AI solves a lot of problems, but I want everybody who is about my age, or even in your 50s, close your eyes for 1 second and take a look at that picture, and tell me if you do not see the resemblance in that picture between John Fleischman and Soupy Sales. I'm just looking at that going, gosh.
Different glasses. different glasses.
Yes, okay, different glass, but you get my point. It's
How old are
interesting.
you?
We're getting up there all the time, and that's what I'm saying. The really biggest portion of voters. And by the way, I was really proud in the primary of what I did. Our side doesn't have a lot of money. I gathered 60,000 votes, and you know, a big bulk of my votes came from. A lot of Republicans, you say, hey, and this is the part where I agree and disagree with these, but I agree actually 100% with what Scott's saying. In every district, every single district, we have too many Republicans that don't vote. And by the way, and you can use AI for this, the last 5 years, the last 10 years, ask AI how much have the Republicans grown in California? We've grown 4 to 5 million, a huge amount. We've grown faster than the Democratic Party. Then ask AI the question, well, how's Republican turnout been in the last 5 years and 10 years? That covers a few cycles. You'll find out it's been less. So we're really good at converting people to so-called religion of Republican. We're just not real good at getting them to come to church, which we call voting. And that's a fact, and you can look it up. That's why we've continually lost ground. Because much of what is pitched.
So let's pretend we're in junior high, and Becerra is offering 2 hours of free power. Are you going to give us like free ice cream on Fridays?
No,
I
I
mean,
got to tell you, here's the thing in junior high. Let's pretend we
wait a
are.
second. I want free ice cream
All he's doing
every
here
Friday.
is keeping the Democrats who are to the left maybe out to vote. But here's the reality of it, everybody, okay? He's not going for the Democrats or the Republicans. We have the NPP's no party preference, okay? And those are the people, they don't care about free electricity. I really grasping for straws here. They really don't. Because you know, Scott, can I ask you a question? Anybody out there, you drive your car around with your electric bill taped to your windshield?
No, it gets paid automatically, and I look at it once a month, and it's getting more and more expensive every month.
And we kind of know that, but it's not in our purview. Okay. So that's a great little thing
No.
that Sarah's doing. However, what do you see in really big numbers when you drive around your car when you have to stop like I do 3 or 4 times a month?
I'll take homelessness for 1,000, Alex.
Take the price of gas.
I'll take price of gas for $10 a gallon, Alex.
There you go. And that's what people see. And they don't get it. They don't even know what their electric bill is. Okay. I'd like to tell you what the electric bill is in my house. I had to find out the other day because, like you, I didn't know what it was. I know it was too much, but I didn't know what it was. But the reality is, people do see that what's right behind Scott. That's why Steve, and there's a big difference, by the way, between Steve Hilton and Becerra. Let's take a step back right there on your right and left there. Steve Hilton has promised to strive for $3 a gas. That's Steve Hilton doesn't make it. You're going to see it in that sign when you pull in every day. That's accountability. Us some real electricity on a not even sure what we pay for. Think of the difference between what the two candidates are promising. To the fact, NPP's no party preference, and including the Democrats and the Republicans, you want to hold us accountable. We're promising to lower the price of gas, and you could see whether or not it's working when you drive into an Arthur 76 after you elect us and see whether or not those number behind Scott start to drop. Okay?
Hey,
That's
we have
really
a billionaire's tax on the November ballot. And it's not really a billionaire's tax, is it? First of all, there's only 26 billionaires in the state, and half of them have left before this tax would take effect. So he's now driven huge amounts of wealth out of the state. He meaning Newsom,
It's an everyone
although it's an everyone tax. They just start with the billionaires, just like the income tax was only for the filthy rich. But hey, I don't know about you, but I'm not filthy rich, and I'm paying a lot of income tax.
Yeah, I seriously doubt anybody watching the show,
So
hosts included, are worried about being taxed on our $1 billion. Okay, because we don't have it.
But a billionaire tax, the everyone tax, they're going to take 5% of your wealth. So let's say you have that $1 million home that you only paid $50,000 for 40 years ago. You're going to have to pay $50,000 for that $1 million home every year. And it doesn't matter whether you have the money or not. Forget it. Now they're proposing a one-time tax, but they have provisions that they can re-up at any time they want if it meets certain conditions, which means the Democrats want more money. Oh, that's the right condition. Let's go ahead and reinstitute it, except let's call it a half a billionaire tax, and then a 10 millionaire tax. Or how about a 1 millionaire tax? That's what Mondami's doing. He's doing in New York, he's doing supplemental property taxes for properties over $1 million. Well, that includes your mom, who's lived there for 45 years and only paid $50,000 for it. And now she's going to be nailed with a huge tax that she doesn't have the cash to pay. She's going to have to either put a reverse mortgage on her house, which means you don't get it. The mortgage company does when she passes, in order for her to pay the taxes, or she's going to move out of the city, which is what his real goal is.
But
Take all the old
understand
people
what
out.
this tax is, and I know there's a lot of stuff back and forth. Look at page 26, etc., etc. I really don't why they call it's really an everyone tax. And by the way, it is illegal under the Constitution at the federal level. So the feds can never do this. Okay? It's an asset tax. And for those of you out there going, huh? Which one of them would be me? That means if your home is worth $1 million, whether you owe $1 million on it, whether you paid $300,000 for it, okay, they can tax you on what they determine the asset is worth. And I also want to drive that home a little bit here. Scott, can I go deep again? Because I like rabbit holes. You know that. I was a big Alice in Wonderland fan. Okay.
Big rabbit hole. Go for it.
Okay. So, generally, for those of us that have worked in big companies, let me explain something that's very different about this tax. When I was at State Farm, State Farm goes out and they buy a really big building for $100 million in LA. Got it? In the old days, as time went on, that building, we sold for $250. However, due to something called GAAP, which is not the closing store, it's called General Accounting Principles, it always stayed on the books for what they paid for it. Meaning this billionaire tax, I really want you to think about it. If Scott and I, if we were to get off here and I was to check my wallet and won the lotto, let's say, I'm optimistic, okay? And I went in with half on Scott on a Picasso painting. You ready, Scott? You ready to go on half?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go for it.
And we paid $5 million for that Picasso painting. It would always be on our books as being worth $5 million until we sold it. And if Scott and I then turn around and sold it for $10 million, we will get taxed on that. I don't know if everybody out there realizes it, but the really scary part about the billionaire tax is a group of people from, the state of California decide Picasso painting is worth. It's not on what someone paid for it. It's when an independent people decide that it's worth. Do you know, they could decide my house is worth $5 million. This just in, it's not. Got it? That gives them, that sets the precedent of the state deciding what your stuff is worth, which is exactly, you got a great thing up there on property taxes, dude, because property taxes, thanks to Prop 13, okay, they hold on what we paid for the house. In most states, the assessor decides what it's worth each year based on what property around you is being sold. That's what Madami's doing in New York because he can't. So we also have Save Prop 13 on the ballot this time too. Scott, whether you know it or not, you stumble outside of a rabbit into a gopher hole. Okay, and you see where I'm going with this. Okay, because our property taxes here are frozen on our value of what we actually paid for the property, not what we could potentially sell the property for, based on that real estate agent. Hi, I'm Mike Netter. I work with X Real Estate Company. I don't want anybody too pissed. And you know, I could sell your house for $5 million. Why don't you list it for that? Well, that's kind of weird. It's a little shack out back. But if I move the horses from the stable, maybe you think I can get that? Okay. So that's a perceived value. That's might be a long rant to many of you, but you really have to understand somebody else is going to decide what you own is worth, and they're going to tax you on what they think it's worth, not even what you can sell it for. Now, Scott, why did you put up In-N-Out Burger? Are you hungry? Because I am. We're getting to the end of our show, and I am getting hungry.
Well, In and Out Burger, just to show you the ineptitude of California, they're trying to put a store in West LA, in Culver City. And literally, there are neighborhood groups that are trying to prevent this from going through, trying to outlaw drive-through restaurants entirely in the city. Oh, that's because they have too many carbon, pollution when they're waiting in line to get their burger in their drive-through line. So they want to stop it. Really, they just want to stop everything. I mean, West LA needs an In-N-Out Burger. There's nothing around the 405 freeway there. That the minute that they install this thing in Culver City, In-N-Out will be super successful, and they're planning a fairly large store. And it's been held up now for over a year. They're talking about extending their moratorium for another 10 years just to stop In-N-Out Burger. I mean,
but before
give
we
me a
leave
break.
this segment, put up the Soupy Sales video, the graphic again. I'm sorry, John Fleischman video. I mean, graphic. Because I think it's really, I want to see when we talk about the difference between right and left, okay? If AOC, and you cannot make this up, okay? So, yes, let's just put down for a second, even the fact they need an In-N-Out Burger, but AOC would tell you, and you cannot make this up, that much of the greenhouse gas comes from, I'm going to try to say this with a straight face. Oh, the hell with it, I can't. Cows farting. Yes, indeed. That the cows we eat, that the In-N-Out Burger serves, that much of our global warming is due the cows are farting. So they not only want to eliminate the fact we could drive to a restaurant and get beef, that the actual beef which comes from the cow. And by the way, I also would like to say that I'm sure if the cows could vote, which in California they might, they would be in favor of that and would agree with you and are probably farting even extra right now when they heard that to make sure that we don't eat them. But that's how ridiculous it literally has become. It's a great job of boiling it down to an individual restaurant, but the difference between right and left is not even right and wrong. It's sanity versus insanity. And in California, the inmates, known as the Democratic Party, continue to find more insane stuff. And they're going to continue to find more insane stuff because they already tried it with, what did they call it? Meat Impossible Burger. That worked out well. And they're going to get, and the fact that we need to have battery play. They're going to continue to find ways, homelessness, power, cows farting, cars, gender dysphoria. You can't tell the difference. Come up with more ridiculous stuff to take more of your money until video going to implode, especially in California, because there'll be nobody left to tax because we're all going to have gone away.
And in closing tonight, so the bottom line is we're defunct. Our state is really in bad shape. The deep state is filled with a bunch of shallow IQ idiots, and the politicians are even stupider. We need to upset the apple cart. We need literally to throw the bums out. And I know there's only 2 candidates on almost every ballot coming down. City councils, et cetera, are going to be different than that. But in the partisan races, they already pared everybody down. There's 2 people left in the race. And if you vote for the incumbent Democrat, what you're saying is that you like the way this state is going. But if you want to send a message, vote for the other guy. I don't care who it is. In this case, Mike needs your vote, and he needs your dollars. So you should donate to Mike. I put the website there on the bottom of the screen. If you want to change the state, you got to get your butt up out of bed and get out there and vote. And you need to get the incumbents out. Anti-establishment. We're out to get change. You don't vote for ramen noodle to get change. You vote for Spencer Pratt. They cheated. They stole the election from Spencer Pratt. They're not going to steal the election from Mike because you're going to get out and vote in such huge numbers. You're going to beat the cheat. So, and the election's not till November 3rd. I want to stress,
share the show, share with people you know, share with people you don't know. Shane, just go to the website, go to the Facebook groups, and share. Look, the hardcore Democrats, the hardcore socialists are going to vote socialists. Again, the Republicans have grown. We need to get them out to vote. But the biggest group of people is this group in the middle. Back to the soupy sales chart. Sorry, Sean Fleischman. They're not right. They're not left. They simply want to live a normal life and watch reruns, if you will, of Soupy Sales and Captain Kangaroo. Spend your life doing more than watching old cartoons where what seemed absurd is becoming. Help on my campaign, go to netter.vote. Thank you, Magdalena. Do everything that you can to keep pushing a message to everybody that you know that, look, it's time. Those of you that have never lived, if you've never lived in humidity and extreme heat, and I have, it's not pleasant. If you've never been to New York City when crime happened, it's not pleasant. That's probably a bad choice of where you go. You're going to have to save our beautiful
So you're
state. It's time. Go ahead.
You're listening to California Free Radio. We're bringing you the truth from behind the blue curtain, and we're going to close out with one of our theme songs. We'll see you next week, 6:30.
They said trust the experts while they locked up the town. Gave us 12 more genders.
I love this song.
Took our
It's great.
paychecks down. Flag on the porch. They call you extreme while they cash big checks and scream on your screen. Tear up the script like it's 1776. Hey, hey. They're allergic to bricks and sticks. All bark, blue check, big talk, no grit. We the ones they can't censor or fix. Oh, sing it loud, that's the trick. Red, white, and really annoyed at